rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, Nana got the party started. She apparently is, slapping down a few. Anyway. I just got to say this because this has happened to me a couple of different times, and I really want people to understand something. First of all, if you insult somebody or are attempting to insult somebody, you really need to understand that in order for the insult to actually have any kind of an effect, the person that you were insulting must value your opinion in the first place. Just saying. And second of all, don't sit there and think that because you are attempting to insult somebody's looks, aka moi, who oftentimes refers to himself as the face that's built for radio. Yeah. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. In case you're kind of curious as to what happened there was a post on Facebook. I jumped in, and of course, they were talking about the city of Seattle. Now, for those of you who've never been up in this part of the country, it is a beautiful place. Environmental wise, green everywhere. You can drive within a couple of hours and be in just about any kind of ecosystem that you want. If you want to if you want to go to the rainforest, you can go to the rainforest. You want to go to the beach, you go to the beach. You want to go to the mountains, you go to the mountains, so on and so forth. Okay, cities. You want to be on a lake, you're on a lake. It doesn't take long for you to figure out that this is an absolute wonderful place. Except for the people who live here. Now, Seattle itself probably wouldn't be that bad if it weren't for the fact of all the lunatic leftist morons that are running around in Seattle. I mean, you've seen them on TV. We've made national news. The whole Chaz Chop thing was just absolutely ridiculous and totally stupid. The idea of like defunding the police, which they tried for a little while and then, of course, found out that doesn't really work and that crime actually goes up. And so they refunded the police. It's the typical leftist kind of stuff. Well, this particular post on Facebook said, hey, doesn't this city just look beautiful? And if all you're looking at is the picture, it does. It does absolutely look beautiful. But I, of course, had to, smack the hornet's nest, I guess. And I put on there something to the effect of, well, if it weren't for all the ugly people, both inside and out, you're right, it would be. And yeah, the individual grabbed a screenshot of me, apparently in one of my videos on Facebook, and posted it and goes, yeah, you should talk, And I, of course, responded back and said, don't care. I'm the one that says that I have a face for radio, so, your insult doesn't really help. And, yes, Bonnie mentions that her Democrat son says there's a lot of drug addicts lying around. Believe me, I would never go into Seattle. I try and avoid Seattle as much as I can. 20 years ago, it was an absolute beautiful city. You could go down to Pike Place Market. You could hit the waterfront. You could just do all kinds of things. The only thing that we are literally missing, which, by the way, we're catching up to California on this. The only thing that we're literally missing is all the shit on the sidewalks. And yes, I did say shit. That being said, I was escorting or chaperoning my daughter's graduation thing. And And we were in downtown Seattle, and as we were coming out of the venue that the kids were enjoying, we came out, and there was a gentleman, I'm using this term loosely, homeless, and he was just standing next to the building, just taking a dump right there in front of everybody at 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, 4:30 in the morning. And I'm just like, yeah, this is what Democrat policies do. And so anyway, yes, Seattle at one point was a beautiful city. It could be a beautiful city again if the Democrats would quit being in charge. I mean, this is the city that gave the country Pramila Jayapal. And this is the city that gave everybody Senator Patty Murray. Enough said. All I got to say. So anyway, yeah, it's just like, yeah, you know what? You can just sit there and you can try and insult me all day long. Believe me, I insult myself worse than anybody can ever insult me. Again, as I pointed out, your opinion has to matter to me in order for it to be of any effect. And, so yeah, don't come to the city, please. Just don't come to Seattle. It used to be a beautiful place and a wonderful city, and now it's just, like every other Democrat city. I mean, you really want to see what Democrats do to a city? Just go to Detroit. Detroit's been run by Democrats for, thousands, well, I don't know, many, many years, decades, a couple of decades. And you just go to Detroit and see what happens. So, yeah, it's just, this is not... I would say just avoid all kinds of cities, period. But I digress. That is all off topic for tonight. It just happened. All of that just happened right before I came on. So that's part of the reason why it was fresh in my mind. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight is U.S. Abbey Girl. U.S. Abbey Girl is up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and join in with U.S. Abbey Girl as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, U.S. Abbey Girl, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. Gotta love those Southern women, man. They get that little Southern drawl in there. Whew. Anyway, if you... yeah, thanks again for that. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting the pledge, performing the pledge in your style, and then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, attach it to an email, send that email to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans at AmericanPerspective.online. And tonight's headline sponsor is the Institute on the Constitution. Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved in local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online, or You just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback, a leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show. See, look at this. It's pocket-sized. Woohoo! Go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Take a look at this thing. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant, and no cheap glue binding here, man. This is stitched all the way through the leather and the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if something does happen to this thing, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. 3 Chevy says that all pages are stitched in numerical order. It has, according to Nana, sexy rounded corners. And it is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. My youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to achieve your civics badge in scouting. Also, probably would help you pass your civics exam. Head on over to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. Also, don't forget, while you are over there, to check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's offerings. They've got some fantastic books and things like that for it. And, yeah. I think we should get a fund together and potentially send it to a whole bunch of Democrats, especially those in Congress, because they certainly need it. Anyway, go and check them out today, constitution.americanperspective.online, and I thank the IOTC for allowing me to be a brand affiliate. All right. Well, the piece that was passed out, the piece that was passed out yesterday by Trump announcing that there was a peace deal, well, it didn't last long, but then it went right back on. It was off and then on, and I think it's still on. I hope. Anyway, hi, Barb from Ohio. You're in the farm. There we go. But this morning, apparently what happened overnight is Iran launched a few missiles. Don't know how many, but a few missiles. Sent them toward Israel. Israel turned around and had another sortie, geared up, ready to go, in the air, flying. And Donald Trump basically says, Israel, yeah, knock that crap off. He's like, they did their thing, let them go. It's time for peace. And surprisingly, according to all reports, that's what happened. Israel turned the stuff around, and yeah, it actually worked. Now, yeah, so the missile exchanges continued despite the ceasefire at first, and then Israel said, okay, fine. And they came back. They pulled their stuff back, their bombers. Yeah, well, before that, though, Donald Trump, well, let's just say that there was a joke that Jeff Dunham did about about, I think it was George H.W. Bush. I think it was Bush 2. And, or just W. Yeah, W, not Bush 1, Bush 2, just W. And how W went and, sent some bombers in and stuff, and he was supposed to drop the F-bomb, not the H-bomb or the A-bomb. It was a joke. I mean, Jeff Dunham, ventriloquist, comedian. Yeah. Anyway, Trump dropped the F-bomb in front of the White House as he was getting into the helicopter to head off to the NATO summit. And yeah, he literally just, I mean, this is what he said. He's like, I'm not happy with Israel. When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them, meaning Israel. I'm not happy with Iran either, he said, but I'm really unhappy if Israel is going out this morning. And then he goes, we basically have two countries that have been fighting for so long and so hard that they don't know what the F they're doing. Yeah, that caught a lot of people off guard. And let me tell you, the leftists who are out there on the socials, man, that got their goats. Oh my gosh. That got their goats. They were like, how could he say that? He's so presidential. He's the president. Oh, what are our young people going to think? Folks, if you ever heard a young person talk, let me just tell you, the one singular F-bomb that Trump dropped on the press this morning is nothing compared to what I've heard anyone from the years of 18 all the way up to, let's say, 45 use on a regular basis. Believe me, the idea of decorum, and it's long gone. I mean, it's so long gone. And I posted that to somebody on X. They were talking about it, and they were just like, he's supposed to be so president. Look, nobody voted for Trump thinking that he was going to be the greatest statesman we've ever had. They voted for Trump because they felt that his policies were going to take care of the country. Let's just be honest here. He is not what I would have considered, okay? He is not what I would have considered to be a very refined, respectable politician. First of all, he's not really a politician, never has been. He's a businessman, and he'll tell you he's a businessman. Not only that, but he's also a New Yorker. And like my friend Steven Stiles keeps referring and telling me, when you ask a New Yorker a question, you're going to get an answer. It may not be an answer that you like, but it will be an answer. And, yeah, let's just say this is like, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Look, I try and not drop very many expletives on this show. The reason being is because of the fact that I just don't feel that it is relatively appropriate. However, if you talk to Mrs. Whiskey and Little Miss Whiskey and young Mr. Whiskey, yeah, they might tell you I'm a little bit different, not by much, but a little bit different out in the real world than I am here on camera. So all of that being said, I do try to refrain from utilizing that kind of a language, but that doesn't mean that you not utilizing that language or utilizing it in specific instances is not warranted. And so this is where, again, I don't understand where all these people are like getting shocked. I mean, Jasmine Crockett has used that kind of language all the time. I mean, it's just not, it's not the, again, it's kind of like when you go over, I'll tell you what, when you go over to, England, well, UK, whatever they call themselves nowadays. We haven't really cared since 1776, but anyway, whatever they call themselves, you go over there, they use words that there is no way in hell that I would use here in the United States. And yet the word bloody over there is like the worst. Just an absolute horrible expletive. Like you can say the F-bomb, the S-bomb, you could even say the C word, and they don't care. But you drop that term bloody in there, and oh my gosh, it is like you just cussed out the queen. I mean, it's just a different culture over there. And so, this whole idea of them going along and getting all upset over the fact that that Trump actually used the F-bomb in a very appropriate place in terms of what the situation was, I don't see where that would be that big of a deal, but especially, again, considering the way that our society is really torn down. Now, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, absolutely, that might have been a bit of a problem. But nowadays, nah, you hear people cussing like sailors all the time, and it's actually considered to be like a badge of honor. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as, and I've told my kids this, that if you actually want respect, you need to speak intelligently, clearly, without a lot of pauses, ahs, likes, throwing a whole bunch of expletives into your speech patterns, things of that nature, because generally speaking, at least those of my generation and earlier, that was something that was a positive. It was something that you did because of the fact that the time period, the generations and everything, they looked upon you if you used what would be considered gutter language, in regular kinds of speech and regular speaking. It tends to break up the flow, and for me it's kind of like, in a way, it's like sex scenes in TV shows and movies. If all you're doing is throwing in a gratuitous sex scene just because you need a sex scene in there and it's not moving the story along, to me it's pointless. So it just a matter of personal preference, I guess. Anyway, so we had some questions, and I actually raised this last night where we were talking about the Iranians' stockpile of enriched uranium. And we don't have enough intelligence information right now to know whether or not we actually did get all of their enriched uranium, or whether or not we ended up missing it. Because as I spoke about last night, there was a series of trucks that were caught on satellite cameras that essentially were running around prior to the attack. And so there is some question as of right now, and there's a relative level of confidence that it's possible that the enriched, at least some enriched uranium, has made it out of the Fordow facility. There's also some conflicting reports that may suggest that it's actually buried right now. So the reality of it is, at this point in time, we don't really know. And thankfully, even though Donald Trump has clearly, and J.D. Vance have clearly said, oh, yes, we crushed it, the facility is gone. It's going to take them a while to rebuild. If they're planning on rebuilding, it's going to take them a while to rebuild, et cetera, et cetera. The challenge is that you have even Marco Rubio is saying, yeah, I don't think they got anything out. So there is a little bit of mixed signals coming from the White House in regards to this. Fact of the matter is that the three known locations where the nuclear enrichment and nuclear research was going on and so on and so forth, they've suffered a significant setback. Not to mention the fact, and this is another thing that a lot of people have missed as a part of this, Israel, prior to us going in and hitting those three nuclear facilities, Israel had already taken out a large portion of their top-level scientists who knew what was going on with all of this, their top-level military leaders, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, Israel and the U.S. together have impacted Iran enough to make them have a bit of a challenge moving forward. So this is, again, we're going to have to kind of wait and see to figure out whether or not there is some enriched uranium that did make it out, or maybe even some equipment or something along those lines. But the reality of it is that regardless, Iran is probably going to go quiet for a little while. So that was cool. That's again, it's one of those things where, we're sort of maybe, but you also have to understand too that part of the world, thanks to our handing over of Bagram Air Base, it's not as though to Afghanistan under the debacle that the Biden administration did. We don't really have much in the way of intelligence assets over there, other than mostly the Israelis. So we'll just have to see. But one of the things that everybody was, oh my gosh, when Trump bombed over the weekend, oh my gosh, this is going to affect oil prices. This is going to make oh my gosh, our oil is going to go up and it's going to be horrible. Yeah, well, guess what? Oil prices dropped. Oh, and global stocks actually rallied yesterday. So oil prices dropped farther down. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. The S&P 500 raised up 0.7% higher in early trading, following up on even bigger gains for stocks across Europe and Asia. Everybody is just... The whole idea that the Democrats freaked out about with this entire thing, World War III, oil prices going up, he's going to drag us into a ground war, so on and so forth. None of that has come true yet. None of that has come true yet. And so the oil market, where a barrel of benchmark U.S. oil fell 4.9%, down to $65.12. Brent crude, which is the international standard, dropped 4.8% to $67.14 per barrel. So there you go. The fear that it could have squeezed the world supply of oil, which would pump up oil prices, has not shown up. Has not shown up. They also, that whole threat about the Strait of Hormuz, yeah, guess what? It's been confirmed. China told them, nah, knock it off. So there you go. Anyway, oil prices began falling sharply on Monday after Iran launched what appeared to be a limited retaliatory strike, which, by the way, that limited retaliatory strike, those 14 missiles that came to the air base, yeah, that was telegraphed by Iran. They called us and said, hey, we just got to save face with our people. Can we just launch a few missiles your way? Of course, none of them hit. We know none of them hit. Anyway, now, the oil prices, by the way, have dropped so much in just the last 2 days that they're actually below where they were before the fighting began 2 weeks ago. Really? Yeah. So, there you go. It's just not. And don't forget that falling oil prices, because energy prices do help with either raising inflation or lowering inflation. It's not the major factor, but it can contribute. Well, because the oil prices are falling, guess what's probably going to happen? Inflation may start falling here pretty soon as well. Even though the Federal Reserve is leery of cutting interest rates just yet. In fact, they've already announced that they are considering keeping the interest rates the way that they are throughout the end of the year. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, but anyway. Well, the Democrats, of course, all of those moronic Democrats running around saying that Trump did it illegally. One of the biggest ones, of course, and believe me, it's not just Democrats. I say Democrats, but let's just face it. It's Democrats and then, of course, the Republicans that are really not happy with Trump. Thomas Massie made this claim on X that the Trump strike was illegal. Well, that immediately got defended publicly by Representative Greg Steube. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's Steube. I don't know, maybe it's French, Steube. Whatever. Anyway, the point being is that he publicly defended Donald Trump on Sunday following the criticism from Massie over the legality of it. So the operation, which for those of you that don't know, was called Operation Midnight Hammer, pretty self-descriptive in terms of that. But Thomas Massie posted on X, he just basically said one line: this is not constitutional. Well, Greg Steube comes back. Well, the president went back at him and was saying that he's not MAGA, even though he likes to say that he is. MAGA doesn't want him, doesn't know him, doesn't respect him. This is all Trump. He's a negative force who almost always votes no. That's relatively true. No matter how good something may be, he says he's a simple-minded grandstander who thinks it's okay or good politics for Iran to have the highest level nuclear weapon, at the same time yelling death to America, so on and so forth, which there are a lot of Republicans that are in that kind of camp. Okay. That being said, though, Greg Steube came in and, kind of agreed. Now, for those of you that don't know who Greg Steube is a U.S. Army veteran. Props to the man. He's a former judge advocate general. He's a lawyer. He also served during Operation Iraqi Freedom. And he entered the debate. So Greg Steube enters the chat. Anyway, in a public statement, Steube directly addressed Massey's claims regarding the constitutionality. He says, as a lawyer, a veteran who wore the uniform, and a JAG who served in Operation Iraqi Freedom, I can say unequivocally, you're wrong, Representative Thomas Massey. And yes, to answer your question, Amy, he is from Florida. Steube continues on and says, President Trump has full constitutional authority to take military action against Iran's nuclear program without a formal declaration of war. He talks about Article 2, Section 2, being the commander-in-chief to use the armed forces to defend national interests and imminent threats. Steube referenced the War Powers Resolution of 1973. Not that I want to pat myself on the back, but let me just put it this way. I think I told you guys this a couple days ago. But anyway, Steube points out that this allows the president to engage military forces up to 60 days, plus an additional 30-day withdrawal period, provided that Congress is notified within 48 hours of initiating military action. There you go. And Steube states, claims that his actions were unconstitutional are simply false. He continued and said, we all know Iran and its proxies were actively seeking nuclear weapons and targeting American troops and allies. President Trump stepped in and stopped them. I'm glad we have a commander-in-chief who eliminates terrorists instead of pardoning them or pandering to them like you do. Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, remember, I told you about the whole 1973 War Powers Resolution, how it very well could be unconstitutional on its face anyway, because it's Congress trying to rein in the power of the executive, although it's never been challenged in court at all. But believe me, presidents have ignored the whole Congress thing, the whole Congress thing. Declaring war. We've been doing it since, after World War II. Because World War II is the actual last time the United States has officially declared war on anybody. So you sit here and you talk about, Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, Iraqi freedom, any of that kind of stuff, all of those operations, Grenada, and several other operations that I can't even name. Plus, don't forget, Obama, hit a U.S. citizen with a drone strike. That wasn't approved by Congress. Yeah. So anyway, well, and this truly falls into the moron file. All right. And I'm not talking Thomas Massey. I mean, Thomas Massey, yeah, he made a mistake, whatever. But this guy takes the cake. This guy takes a cake. And once again, this dumbass, you remember Texas Democrat Al Green, who, opened himself up during the what was not really a State of the Union speech, but was a State of the Union speech. Anyway, by Trump after he first got elected. Well, he's standing up there and was yelling at Trump during the whole thing, got himself kicked out of the chamber, and then right after that, he ended up going and getting censured by his peers. Well, he introduced impeachment articles. And he introduced them saying that President Donald Trump, with his decision to bomb Iranian nuclear facilities without congressional approval, warranted being impeached. And let's just say I'm actually kind of amazed. There was 100 Democrats, over 100 House Democrats sided with Republicans. There was 128 members of his own Democratic caucus that joined the Republicans in defeating that stupid ass moron's bill. And yes, he is a stupid ass moron. So Green led the impeachment effort. By the way, he's been trying to impeach Trump for multiple issues out of the past. However, he failed to impeach the president in a bipartisan vote of 344 to 79. By the way, that's according to Politico. So not a single Republican voted in favor of the impeachment. That doesn't surprise me any. But what is kind of surprising is his own freaking party. 128 people of your own freaking party said you're a dumbass and voted no on your impeachment. What does that tell you? To me, that would tell you, hey, man, I am really a moron and I shouldn't have done this. But they have absolutely no intelligence level in terms of their own self-expression, like where I can at least look in the mirror and go, yeah, you know what? I'm really not the most handsome guy in the world. Okay. And I look at reality. He's living in a fantasy land thinking that he's going to be able to impeach the president for something that not only was he legally able to do, but constitutionally able to do. How does that figure? Yeah, but then again, these people, they just don't think. They don't think. They have no intelligence. They've got two brain cells, and occasionally, as they're bouncing around in their heads, they occasionally rub together to have some sort of a thought. But it's not really much of a thought. That's all I'm going to say. So, yeah. Yeah, that didn't go very well in terms of all that. Now, another person who really isn't that intelligent either, she joins the moron files as well. But she got slapped down, not by her own party necessarily, but by people who are actually in the know. Now, I mentioned this a couple of days ago, where Whoopi Goldberg, okay? Whoopi Goldberg made the comment on The View that she was saying that black Americans face the same oppression as women in Iran. Do you remember that? I'm not going to play the clip for you because, frankly, listening to the people on The View makes me lose brain cells. And as much as I like having enough brain cells to make sure that I can tie one part of my brain behind my back, rest in peace, Rush Limbaugh, in order to make it fair. This gal, oh my God, this is just horrible. Well, anyway, she, according to Breitbart, you can see here, she got slammed by actual Iranian dissidents. Oh my gosh. So she went back and forth, and yeah, there is the clip. I could play it, but I'm not going to. She was in a heated back and forth with her co-host, Alyssa Griffin, who said that the Iranian regime is nothing compared to the United States, to which Goldberg replied, they used to keep hanging black people. Well, okay, whatever. So then the war of words continued between Griffin and Goldberg, and Griffin says, I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran in 2025. And Goldberg replied, not if you're black. Okay. So let me just point something out to you. Whoopi Goldberg is on a nationally televised show. She has starred in, we'll say, a few blockbuster movies. She is rich. She is living in California, one of the highest priced states in the nation. And she's sitting here saying that black people are oppressed. I mean, all you have to do is look around. You can look at just about anybody. There's Morgan Freeman, who agrees, who says, "Hey, look, no black people are oppressed in America." You look at Steve Harvey, you look at Don Lemon, you look at Denzel Washington. You could go down Samuel L. Jackson. You could go down an entire long list of people who are black, who are very successful in this country. Don't sit here and tell me that being black in America means that you're oppressed. There are so many examples. Clarence Thomas, one of the greatest Supreme Court justices in the entire history of justices, is sitting on the bench right now. Yeah, no, there is no this bullcrap. Just because of the fact that you were born here within the borders of the United States as an American affords you so many more opportunities than any other place across the entire globe. And let's not even mention the fact that how many people, I mean, Bonnie points it out here in the chat, how many of these people are playing professional sports, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, whatever, and they're playing professional sports and they're getting basically millions and are adored by millions of fans. And it doesn't even matter whether it's the NBA, the WNBA, the NFL, men's soccer, women's soccer, tennis, you could golf. I mean, oh my God, how many people have never heard of Tiger Woods? Give me a break. This is just freaking ridiculous. Well, Whoopi got smacked by some actual Iranian dissidents. For an example, the Iranian-American journalist Lisa Dafari told Fox News, "It's astonishing that Whoopi Goldberg would even suggest that life for black Americans is somehow equivalent to living under the rule of the Ayatollah in Iran." Then you have the Iranian dissident Dr. Sheila Nazarian, whose family fled Iran in 1985, told Fox News, "Whoopi Goldberg's comparison between being black in America and living under Iran's authoritarian regime is deeply misguided and dismisses the brutal realities faced by millions of Iranians." Whoopi Goldberg, yes, I'm talking to you. If you ever watch this, has there ever been a situation where a woman was accused of having an affair or, some perceived idea that she was, I don't know, with a boy that wasn't chosen and got acid thrown in their face? Believe me, there are several Iranian women running around that have been disfigured by acid being thrown in their face. Okay? It's these Democrats are just so freaking stupid. Every single day they open up their mouth and they say something absolutely off the wall, just totally asinine. And we're expected to sit here and think, oh yeah, that's the way everything is. You sit here and wonder why America is kind of, I don't know, at least at this point, sort of the laughingstock of the world in a way. Because we have stupid asses like you sitting on nationally televised shows saying that you're oppressed just because of the color of your skin. Anyway. And yes, Bonnie, I did get a little hot. Okay. You know what? I need to get my temp things going again. So for that one, hey, you know what? I forgot I even had these things. Let's see. For that one, it would be this one. Hotter. There we go. I forgot I have those. Anyway. All right. Well, New York City has a choice between bad and worse. So today they held, and I don't even know if it's done yet, but today they held a mayoral election primary for the Democrats, and I'll get to that here in just a minute. But right now, I want to tell you about, because I just noticed the time, my rants got too far. But anyway, Let me just tell you this. I've got a cup of coffee that I drink in the morning. It is essentially a 2-cupper. It's 16 ounces. And I'm telling you, if I don't have my coffee in the morning, you think I get grumpy? Yeah. Well, let's just say I do. So if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee yet, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. There is only 1,000 units available, according to this piece. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, a smooth medium roast, and you're also getting the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin-free, mold-free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. That's my favorite. Just get the gold spoon clip, please. A frother that is strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. Ooh. And a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. This is for the ones who have been waiting and watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and are wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com / that's the question mark key for those that can't find it on the keyboard, / studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Go to 1775 coffee. That is the numbers 1775, the word coffee, all mashed together, .com / studio, STUDIO, to grab your starter kit. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. Go to 1775coffee.com / studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit today. All right. Well, New York City voters headed to the polls today for a mayoral election primary. Now, some people are sitting here maybe thinking, well, wait a minute, why isn't Eric Adams in the primary? To be honest, the reason why is because he's decided to run as an independent. He's the current mayor of New York City, but he's decided to leave the Democrats behind and run as an independent. So they have technically 3 idiots. And I do mean idiots on all 3 of them. But they headed to the polls. There's Mario Cuomo. There's this, I said Mario. It's actually Andrew. Andrew Cuomo. Okay. And there's this guy named Zohran Mamdani. These are the top 2 people who are in this thing. Unfortunately, the third guy, it basically hasn't even registered on the Richter scale, I don't think. But anyway, Cuomo and Mamdani are essentially running kind of neck and neck. Here's the problem. You got Cuomo, who was the former governor who basically put a whole bunch of people into nursing homes during COVID and, made it even worse for New Yorkers. And then you've got Mamdani. Now, for those of you that don't know Mamdani is a socialist. Plain and simple. And as a socialist, he wants to go all in on transing the kids to the tune of $65 million. He also wants to defund the police, like get rid of them completely. I'm not talking about just taking away their money. I'm talking he just wants to abolish the police department completely, is what I understand from this guy. He is literally a democratic socialist. And he says via his campaign website that his priorities are expanding and protecting gender-affirming care citywide. Yeah. Oh, this guy. I'm telling you, New York City, if they go and vote this guy in, New York City is probably going to be done. I mean, they're probably going to be, he's probably going to be completely finished. And that's all I can tell you is that he is horrible. He wants to raise taxes. He wants to tax the, all the businesses. If you think that there was an exodus out of New York City for businesses and everything, just wait till this guy gets in office, provided that he actually gets there. And I'm telling you right now, they're doing, I think for them, it's a top 2 primary. So, and according to the odds on Polymarket, Mamdani has a 61% chance of beating Cuomo for the primary right now. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll just have to see. But once again, I mean, New York and California, those are like the 2 places that I would say, along with Illinois, those are the 3 top states in the country that I think are just, well, they're dragging the rest of us down. Let's just be honest. I mean, I can't sell Washington and Oregon that short, but believe me, don't California. Don't California anywhere. Don't New York anywhere. Don't Illinois anywhere. I'm just telling you. It's just horrible in terms of all that. I can't even believe that these people, why? We just have some serious morons, and they never learn. You know what's funny about it, or not funny as in haha. It may not even be funny as in ironic. But what's strange is these people leave these states and they go to other states because they find that the other states are going to give them a better quality of life. And they keep voting for these idiots. They'll go to these other states. For an example, you leave California, you go to Texas. And all you have to do is take a look at the cities that are in Texas, whether it's Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio. You go and take a look at any of those cities. They've turned purple because these morons leave out of California, New York, and they head toward these cities and they just vote for their idiot Democrats because, God forbid, you actually have a thought, like I said, those brain cells bouncing around in your head actually cross together, and you have a thought that, you know what, maybe it's the people that I voted for that caused all of my problems and made me leave my home state to come here to another state that was a red state. Yeah, anyway, these guys are just, I mean, yeah, they never learn. They just, some morons just never learn. That's pretty much what it is. They just never learn. And apparently they do the same thing to Florida. I know from my own friends who are over in Boise, they're doing the same thing over there. They're coming in and they're moving into the city in Boise and they're turning Idaho into more of a purple state. So anyway, it's just ridiculous. Anyway. All right. Well, last thing before I take off, and this one's actually a big one. So here is a listing of what the Supreme Court has left to release in terms of rulings before their term ends. Okay. And these are some big ones. And I'll tell you, the one that I'm really looking for is this first one on the list, which is essentially the nationwide injunctions. So this is an article in the Epoch Times. You can go and read this, but this is the first one. It's the birthright citizenship and nationwide injunctions. Now, keep in mind, the birthright citizenship, even though the article kind of points to it, don't forget, the birthright citizenship was not the argument that was being made in front of the Supreme Court that they heard back in May. Okay? It had to deal with the nationwide injunctions. And it was specific. The Solicitor General specifically stated, we want to let the birthright citizenship constitutional question percolate through the courts first. Okay? But he wanted to have the issue of nationwide injunctions, which are unconstitutional and are exceeding the power of those judges, because, again, I maintain they were created by Congress. Congress can't pass along a power that Congress itself doesn't have. Okay? But anyway, the point being is this particular one is the one that I'm watching, and they haven't released anything yet. Now, I'm kind of hoping they're going to do it this week. because I know their term is ending pretty soon here. They're going to leave at, I believe, at July is when the term ends. So they have just under a week to release these. The next one is the sex and gender in school libraries. You'll remember this one was about whether or not schools should be able to require a child's participation involving storybooks with controversial content. And this was a group of both Christian and Muslim parents that sued the Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland about this. And we heard a little bit. I talked a little bit about it on this program. And so that question is still out there. And then there were a couple of ones that I wasn't really, I just kind of was like, yeah, whatever. Age verification for porn websites. So that one is a Texas law requires pornographic websites to verify the age of their users. And the porn industry group known as the Free Speech Coalition alleged that the requirement was too broad and violated the First Amendment. So that one is one that they're taking a look at. And they haven't kicked it out yet. And there is the Planned Parenthood and state Medicaid funds. Planned Parenthood and abortion are back in front of the Supreme Court. This from the piece in the Epoch Times. But this time, the case focuses on how much money the abortion provider gets through Medicaid. Now, you guys, I'm telling you, Medicaid, Medicare, I know a lot of people are on it. I get it. It's a program that's been around. There's a lot of people who honestly, may depend on it completely. But I'm telling you, it's not constitutional. It literally isn't. So is Obamacare. And that's the other one, Obamacare Panel on Preventative Measures, which is another health-related case. And honestly, the way that you end these things, if the SCOTUS was an actual constitutional SCOTUS, made up of strict constitutionalists, like it should be, the response to both of these cases would be, that's not in the Constitution. The 10th Amendment applies. This needs to go to the state, period. It's not something the federal government is supposed to be doing. And that's the way that it's supposed to be, okay? So, yeah, anyway. So those are the ones that are left. Like I said, the big one for me is the top one and the next one down, the top one being the birthright citizenship nationwide injunctions. Now, do not be surprised. Just going to point this out. Don't be surprised if Clarence Thomas issues either a concurring opinion by himself or a dissent by himself that clears up or talks about the whole birthright citizenship. Because again, they were not asked to do that. But do not be surprised if you see that coming from at least Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas. I would say that both of those, if I were a betting man, both of those will have some sort of a reference to birthright citizenship and maybe even a suggestion, like Clarence Thomas did with the whole nationwide injunctions, that this birthright citizenship thing could be on Trump's side. Because I've explained it to you. We've gone through the history. I've shown you the history. You guys all know it. You're Whiskey Warrior P1s. I know you guys all know it. But anyway, we're just waiting with bated breath for those to come out. And chances are that birthright citizenship and nationwide injunctions will be the last one that's sent out, potentially. But anyway. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free, and once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget, tomorrow night is Whiskey Wednesday, as well as Pet of the Week. I don't have a Pet of the Week, so if you want to get a pet on the Pet of the Week, get it in now. Seriously, I need a Pet of the Week. Guys want to do this, you got to send it. All right. Okay. Let's see. Oh yes. Tomorrow night is 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on American Perspective. And have a great rest of your evening and good night, everybody.